I think the country has a bigger problem. When the Do Better report was released, I said very plainly then that I think if you looked at any organisation in the country, specifically for issues in relation to the treatment, cultural safety of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, you would anticipate finding a problem. I don't think we're immune to that. It's really clear that we're not. And so we will definitely think in broader scope when the time is right, but we've got a really urgent, pressing issue right here and now, which has to take absolute priority. But of course we're thinking about the broader issues. It's too soon to say what that is, because we have to come up with a process that adequately addresses the allegations in hand today through the report that Hawthorn commissioned. We're obviously, as Gil has just said, are going to do further examination on exactly what has occurred, and I think that that has to be our priority. These are not things that should be taken lightly, because if the design of these things are not done appropriately, if Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people don't have input into the design, we will not come up with an adequate response, because the questions will be wrong. So there's a whole range of things that need to be managed appropriately and very directly, and it's certainly not something that can be rushed, because if you do a rush job in relation to things that are so critical, do speak to the history of this country as a whole, we won't do service or show appropriate respect to everyone impacted by any of the number of things that you might expect to find. Oh, yeah. I mean, almost it's hard to find the words to describe how you feel when you read something like this, honestly. But how I feel is pretty irrelevant. What we need to do is really centre around the experiences of the people who've come forward. So I'd rather not linger on how I feel. I think what we've got to be very focused on as part of the AFL, as Gil has already said, is make sure that the complainants are first and foremost our concern, how they're feeling, what their needs are, and we'll only know that once our examination starts. Absolutely. Gil has been consulting with me very closely on this, along with, the other experts in the building. And what I would say is that we need to remember that we're so fortunate that with Australia's history, we have some extraordinarily well-qualified Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, well-equipped from a cultural perspective, obviously, and also from a formal qualification perspective, to be an equal part of the process, and that's going to be critical.